Bitcoin was poised to essentially prove itself as being a hedge against inflation. However, what we've been seeing here is that it is not proving out to be true. Now, does that mean it won't work out in the end? Not necessarily, but it definitely means right now what we're seeing, if we just look at it as objectively as possible, that it's not hedging against inflation. And that is basically, we can see that as we see some of the highest inflation rates ever in April. Let's get into it. Inflation rose to 8.3% in April, with monthly core CPI doubling from March. Bitcoin dropped sharply after the release. U.S. inflation slowed last month for the first time since November of 2020. A Labor Department report Wednesday showed the Consumer Price Index, the most widely used gauge to track inflation, dropped to 8.3% in April from last year, down 8.5% in March. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Yeah, I am. All right. Ignore what I said earlier. Let's get through it, though. A 4-decade high, according to the report published Wednesday. Economists had estimated an 8.1% for April. But core inflation, which excludes seasonally volatile food and energy prices, rose 0.6% from March, double the rate from the prior month and higher than a 0.4% clip that economists had forecast. Bitcoin was down 4.8% within minutes after the report was released, changing hands at 30,145. As you can see, we dropped down below 30,000 at 29,810 now. Crypto analysts and traditional economists alike are watching core inflation particularly closely this month, as headline inflation figures could be misleading because of a big jump in the CPI this time last year. Quote, the year-on-year numbers are going to come down almost no matter what, end quote, said Eric Winograd, director of developed market economic research at Alliance Bernstein. Quote, that isn't particularly meaningful because it doesn't tell us what's really going on with the prices right now. It tells us what went on with the prices a year ago. The CPI saw a big jump during the spring last year from 2.6% in March to 4.7% in April, making it difficult to draw comparisons between this year's numbers. Core inflation, however, is the percentage change month over month, which is why analysts prefer looking at that data point to evaluate current inflationary pressure. Compared with inflation reports earlier this year, April's report could be less significant for traders in general as they track inflation to make assumptions about what the Federal Reserve might do to keep the inflation in check. Quote, they've already told us their next step, end quote, Winograd said. So it takes something very dramatically different for them to change that path. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell has already said that it is very likely that the central bank will increase the interest rate by 0.5 percentage point at each of the next couple meetings. President Biden weighs in. Many critics blame President Joe Biden for the highest inflation in 40 years and for deflecting the blame for the current state of the economy. With midterm elections coming up in November, the president spoke about inflation on Tuesday, assuring Americans that he is, quote, taking inflation very seriously, end quote, and saying it's his top domestic priority. I like how this bugs me because you play on that word. It basically is a way to say it's not my top priority because I think we know what the top priorities are. And the top priorities are not domestic in the U.S. right now. Quote, President Biden and the Democrats are likely to be hard put to maintain their majority in Congress, end quote, said Scott McDonald, chief economist at Smith's Research and Ratings. An economy in trouble with a recession of near recession type money policy and inflation does not make a good tailwind. And as you can see, like we said, I think I had a little bit of a snafu. I was up late, but we're seeing, obviously, high inflation. We're seeing Bitcoin respond to it in a manner which was not predicted by most Bitcoin maxis. And that can be due to a lot of things. More than likely, in my humble opinion, it is due to, of course, institutional investing. So institutional money is awesome, right? When you're in a bull market and we're like, yay, this is awesome, pump it up. It's not so awesome when you're in a bear. It's not so awesome when you're dealing with inflation, because they're going to react to the Bitcoin market just the same as they do to any traditional investment. So I don't think that, I think that while everybody was super excited about the institutional investment, I don't think that it ended up proving out to be a positive. That's my humble opinion, not financial advice, and I'm a dummy. So that's just kind of how I read it from this perspective. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Morning Show every Monday through Friday, 7:45 a.m. Pacific and 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. You can check out more clips here, or if you're interested in checking out the entire live show, you can check that out down here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.